Hello, I'm Landon Schlungen, and today we're going to go over the data visualization with D3. And D3 is a library for JavaScript. It's kind of like React. Well, it's not React, but it's a library like React is. So it's just an add-on that we can add into vanilla JavaScript that will allow us to make graphs and data-driven documents, as that's what it's called. That's why it's called that. So that's what we're going to be learning today. We're going to be learning all about how to represent data using this library. And let's go to the first lesson. Let's try it out. Add document elements with D3. So this seems pretty easy. All we have to do is call D3 and then do a select on it to select the node that we want to put it on. So we'll go D3.select and we'll select our body. That's what they want here, the body tag. And then we want to append an h1 tag to it. So we'll do .append and we'll append the h1 and then we'll add the text to it of learning D3. And there we go, it shows up on our body. So that seems to be working great. And the reason why we can do D3 is because we have this library imported somewhere. It's either in our node modules folder or it's as a CDN that we have in our head. But they're doing it behind the scenes, so that's why we have access to it right now. And there we go, that should be all we have to do for this one. Let's try it. Yep. Select a group of elements with D3. This is done with the select all method. So in this case, we'll just do D3.selectAll, and we want to select all list items. And then we want to change their text to be list item. And there we go. Change their text to list item instead of example. So let's try that. Yep. Work with data in D3. So for this challenge, we want to do something similar to this to kind of work with data. And so what we want to do for this challenge is we want to grab our D3 and select our body. And then on our body, we want to select all H2s. And then we want to do .data on it, and we'll pass in our data set. And then we'll do .enter, kind of the same as what's over here. And then we want to append our H2 on and then change the text to new title. And there we go. There's all of our H2s of new title for every single data set. So there's how many data sets or data points in here? There's 9 of these, and there's also 9 of these. So yep, looks like it's working correctly. Let's try it out. Yep, work with dynamic data in D3. So in the last example, we just did new title for all the text boxes, but we can actually do a callback function and it'll grab the data set that we have. So D stands for one of these numbers, 12, 31, 32, and we can do an arrow function on it. And then we want to return USD plus the D appended onto it. So we'll also add a space in there. So then the first one is USD 12 and then 31, 22 and so on. So that's how we actually get that data in there. Let's try it. Oh, the D should come first. Okay, now let's run it. Yep, there we go. Add inline styling to elements. This is done with the style method. So we'll just chain on a .style method and it'll be a comma list. And we'll do font family of Verdana. And there we go, change the font family and we should be good to go. Yep. Change styles based on data. So in this case, we can do a callback function for the second argument and then put some logic in there based on the data. So we'll do .style and we'll change the color of the H2 based on what the data is. So we'll do a callback function of the data and we'll do if the data is less than 20, then we want to return the color red. Otherwise, we want to return the color green. So it looks like it's working wonderfully, and let's try it out. Yep, add classes with D3. This is done with the attra method. So we'll just do .attra and we'll add the class of div or of bar on these div elements. And the class of bar has a background color of blue and a width and height. So that's what's showing up here. Let's try it out. Yep, update the height of an element dynamically. So we can do .style on this and do that callback function as before, and we'll do it on the height property. So I'll grab each data point and we'll return the data point for that. Data point plus pixels probably. Or we can just do the data point and it looks like it works the same way. And there we go, we have our bar graph. Let's try it out. Yep, change the presentation of a bar graph. So right now this bar graph does not look very good, but we want it to look better. First of all, we want to add some margin in between each bar, and that will be 2 pixels of margin. And then we want to make it higher and make the bars longer. So we'll just do D times 10 to make them bigger. So there we go, there's our bars now. They look a lot better, and let's try it out. Yep, cool. Learn about SVG in D3. So SVG stands for Scalable Vector Graphics. And it's basically a graphic that no matter where you zoom in or out, it will not appear pixelated. It'll look good whether it's on a mobile screen or a large TV monitor. And for this challenge, we want to use SVGs. So to use SVGs, we want to append on the SVG tag because there's an HTML tag that's SVG. And then we want to give them style. So I'll give them a style based on the data set. So I'll give the height property. Oh, the height will actually be the provided constant and also the width constant. So we'll just do a height of h, and then we'll also do dot style again, and we'll give it a width of w. And there we go. There's our SVG. It's 500 pixels wide and 100 pixels tall. And that should be all we had to do for this. Let's try it out. Yep, cool. Display shapes with SVG. So SVG can display rectangles or some other kinds of shapes, and they have different attributes like an XY and a height and width. The XY is where it is on the plane, and then the height and width is how big it is. So we want to add in a rectangle. So we'll do dot append rect, and then we'll do dot attribute, and we'll give it a width equal to 25. We'll do dot attribute again, and give it a height of 100. And then we also want to give the X and Y attributes set to 0. So we'll do this twice again. And we want to change the X to 0 and the Y to 0. So there we go. That should be all we have to do for this one. There's our rectangle. Let's try it out. Yep. Create a bar for each data point in the set. So now we actually want to use our data set to make the bars. And I should also note that the rect has to be appended onto an SVG. So to get started with this, we want to grab our data. So we'll do dot data and the data set we want to pass into it, and then dot enter to enter it in. And then we'll append on a rect for all of those. And then the attributes are what's causing it to render now with a height and width of 125. And this should be all we have to do for this challenge. And we're gonna fix it in the next challenge. So yep, dynamically set the coordinates for each bar. So right here we have our data set, which is D, which will be a number in this data set. And then we also have the I, which is the index that it's at. And for this challenge, we want to change the X position of the rectangle to be I times 30. And then I might have to add pixels onto that. Oh, I have to return it. That's what I have to do. Return. There we go. There's all of our bars, but they're not different heights yet. And I'm guessing we'll change that in the next one with this. Wait, no, with this one. But let's move on for now. Let's try it. And maybe I don't need the pixels at the end. Now let's try it. There we go. So yeah, now we want to change the height of each bar by doing this with the actual number and then the index. So we'll just do return the data point times 3. And there's the height, except they're backwards. Let's try it anyways. Yep, that worked. Invert the SVG elements. So yeah, like I said, right now they're going from top to bottom when they should be going from bottom to top. And basically the formula that we need is this one right here, y equals h minus m times d. So I'll kind of just add this in here. So we'll return the height of them, which is 3 times d. And then I'll go minus m, which is the constant that I want to have it, which I guess is 1 for now, and then times d. And that looks kind of silly. I don't know, it looks kind of silly, but I'll try it anyways. Oh, the height of the bar is 3 times d. So we'll go 3 times d here. And instead of d here, or 3 times d there, we'll do the height of the SVG, which is 100. There we go. Now it looks good. Yeah, the height of the SVG is the h constant that we set right here. So yeah, let's try that out now. Yep, cool. Change the color of an SVG element. That's done with this fill attribute. So we just want to add in an attribute of fill, and we want to fill up with navy color. So just add navy to it, and there we go. Now it's the navy color. Let's try it out. Yep. Add labels to D3 elements. So now we actually want to add labels to these bars, and that's done with the .text method. So we'll add the text. Well, we'll do .append text, and then we want to add attributes to it. So we'll do .attribute on the X, and it'll be the same as this one is right here. So I'll just grab that down here, and it'll be the same for the Y as well. So I'll grab this and bring it down there, except the Y value for the text should be 3 units higher than the bar. So I guess we'll do +3 at the end of there, and then we'll use the text method to add in the data point. So this should probably take a callback function of the data point, is what I'm guessing. So yeah, there's our data point, 12, 31, 22, and it's going above the bars. And maybe it should be -3 instead of +3. Yeah, so now they're more visible. Let's try that out. Yeah, cool, that worked. Style D3 labels. So now we're gonna actually style this text, and we want to set the font size to 25 pixels and the color to red. So we'll just do .style. We'll make the font size 25 pixels, and we'll do another .style. That will make the color of it red. Well, it's working for font size, but I don't know why it's not making it red. Oh, it's because we have to use fill instead of color. So we'll do fill of red. There we go, now they're red. Let's try that out. Yep, add a hover effect to a D3 element. So this can be done with the :hover pseudo class. So we'll add an attribute to the :hover part. I'm not completely sure about this, but we'll try it. Oh, never mind. Yeah, that's done in CSS, not on this. So we just want to add the class of this one, which is bar. So we'll just add the class of bar onto this. And now there should be a hover effect. Yeah. So now when we hover over the bar, it turns brown. And that's because the CSS has a hover effect on it. So that should be good to go. Let's try it out. Yep. Add a tooltip to a D3 element. Here we want to go down to where it says add code below this line. And we want to append a title element. So we'll go .append and we'll append title. And then we'll call .text onto it. And then it will take the data point as a callback function and return it, and hopefully that worked. And it doesn't look like it's working because I hover over these and it's not showing anything, but let's just try it anyways. And I guess it worked even though I didn't think it was working, but whatever. Let's just go on. Create a scatter plot with SVG circles. So now we want to make a scatter plot with this data set, and we want to use the data enter and append methods. So first we'll do .data on this SVG, and we'll pass in our data set, and then we'll do .enter to enter it in, and then we'll append on every circle because we select them first and then we append them on, apparently. And then we want to add in the X and Y values, I believe, of the data set. So we'll do .attribute, or maybe we don't have to do this yet. Maybe we'll do that in the next challenge. So right now I just have this and I'll try it out. Yep, that's all I need for this one. I guess now we're going to add in some of the other stuff. So some of the circle elements attributes are CX, CY, and R. So R stands for radius, CX is the X value, so like where it's positioned on the X, and CY is where it's positioned on the Y. So for this, I guess we'll do .attribute, and we want to grab the CX, and then for each data point on it, we want to return the data point, and we want to return the first data point, so we'll do D0, and then we'll do .attribute on it again to grab the Y. So we'll grab CY, and then we'll do the data point as a callback function, and we'll grab the second one on the list with D of 1, and then we'll grab the radius, so .attribute, we'll grab the radius with R, and that will just be 5 for all of them. So there's all of our dots. Looks like it's working correctly, and it says to not invert it and show it right side up. So I'm not sure if it'll work yet, but let's try it out. Nope, it doesn't work because I believe it is inverted right now. So to make it not inverted, we want to do the height minus our D3 for the Y, not for this one, for the Y. So we'll go H minus D1, and now I think it should work. Let's try it out. Yep, cool. Add labels to scatter plot circles. This is done with this text element. So we want to append this text element, and then we want to set some attributes onto it. The first attribute will be the Y attribute, which will be the same as the Y attribute that we have here. So I'll grab that, except it will be, oh, actually we're going to use that for the X. So we'll go the same thing for the X, kind of, and we'll grab the CX one that we did before, and then we actually want to do +5 on it, and then we want to set the text with .text, and the text will take in the data point, and it will return D0, and then it will have plus a comma and a space, and then plus D1, and there we go. Now we have these labels on here. Looks pretty good, and I believe we're good to move on. So let's try it out. Yep, cool. Create a linear scale with D3. So scales are used to make sure that the data fits inside of your container. And so basically for this challenge, all we want to do is make a scale. So we'll go d3.scaleLinear to make the scale. And then we want to pass in the scale of 50. We want to pass into it, and that should be good to go. Let's try it out. Yep. Set a domain and a range on a scale. That's done with the domain and range methods. So for this challenge, all we want to do is set its domain to be 250,500. So we'll do scale.domain, and we'll set it to 250, 500, and then we'll do scale dot range equaling 10 to 150, and we should be good to go now. Let's try that out. Yep. Use the D3.max and D3.min functions to find minimum and maximum values in a data set. So for this challenge, we want to find the maximum value of the z values, which would be -4, 8, and 3. So obviously that would be 8, but we want to find that in our output. So to do that, we'll grab D3.max, and this will take a callback function, or it'll take our data in first. So position data, and then we can map through our data with a callback function. And we want to return the maximum of d of 2, which is the second index, which is this. So there we got returned 8, which is 8 is bigger than -4 and is bigger than 3. So that works for that. If we change this to 10, we should get 10, which we do, which is cool. And let's try this. Oh, it should be 8, so I actually have to keep that how it was. And let's try it. Yep, there we go. Use dynamic scales. So the D3 min and the max functions, they're basically useful to help set the scale, and that's why we need to use them. And for this challenge, we want to change this y scale up so that it actually uses the maximum y. So I think what I'll do is I'll copy the x scale one and change some things on it. For example, the height one of the data set is this second index, or the first index, the second number. So instead of D0, I'll grab D1, and then also I'll grab the H instead of the W. So we're changing the domain to be 0 to the maximum Y in this, and then we're changing the range to be the padding, which is 30, and it'll be the 500 minus 30, and that's going to be its range. So let's try this out, see if it works. Oh, I guess I have to do H minus padding here, and then just do padding for the second argument, or for the second number, so that it's 470, 30. So now let's try it out. Yep, there we go. Use a predefined scale to place elements. This is done with the X scale method and the Y scale method. So for this challenge, we want to go down here, and for each circle, we want to set the attribute of the X and Y. So we'll grab the X attribute and we'll set it to the X scale of D0, and we'll kind of do the same thing for Y. So copy that down. We'll grab the Y and Y scale of D1, and then we'll also make the radius equal to 5. So we'll grab the R and we'll make it equal to 5. And I think it should be actually CX and CY. So we'll go CX and CY. So there's our dots. And then we want to do the same thing with the text, kind of. So I'll just copy this part down, and instead of CX and CY, we'll just do XY. So there's our numbers, except it's overlapping a little bit, so we want to add 10 to the X. So I'll just go onto the back here and add 10, and there we go. Now they're shifted over a little bit, and we should be good to go for this one. Let's try it out. Oh, before passing it to the X scale, so we'll just do add 10 inside of that parenthesis, and now it should work. There we go. Yep. Add axes to a visualization. So right here they have the x-axis. We want to add in the y-axis, kind of what they did before, and this is done with the axis left and axis bottom methods. So we want to add an axis left. So we'll go down here and we'll do, instead of y-axis equals undefined, we'll do d3.axis left, and we'll pass in the y scale for that. And the y scale is the scale linear thing that we did before. And then we kind of want to do the same thing with this as well. So I'll just copy this down. We want to do svg.append G, and the G element stands for group. It's an SVG element. And then we want to transform it and translate it to be at the correct position. So we want this to be the y-axis, and the translate argument is in the form x0. So in that case, we'll grab our h minus padding and we'll put it here. And I believe that's our y-axis. It's just this line right now because the labels are being cut off. Maybe there's a solution to that. I don't know. Let's try it out though. So yeah, I thought it might not work. Oh, maybe it has to be x minus padding. That could be. Or maybe padding. Wait, no. With minus padding. It should be 60, 0. So what is with minus padding? Oh, it should just be the padding, not minus anything, just the padding. There we go. Now it's showing up correctly, and let's try it out. Yep, cool. So there we go. We completed all the D3 challenges. Next up, we have JSON APIs and AJAX challenges, and that should be very useful and very fun to do. JSON APIs are very, very useful in web development, and they are used to basically import our data a lot easier, so we don't have to manually input all of our data ourselves. There's just like APIs that can do that for us. So yeah, I hope you enjoy learning D3 with me, and I will see you in the next video where we go over JSON APIs and AJAX. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye.